Okay, I'm trying to blow time until like my Super Mario Galaxy screening, so I'm sitting here in the early morning waiting to leave the house so I can go see this thing. So I haven't seen the movie yet, but I think it's been been made very very clear by the actions of the critics and the actions of like general audiences that this is a fantastic movie, a 10 out of 10, and that the critics are just coping. Okay, the critics are upset that this is not a woke film. They are upset that it's not pushing gay propaganda. They are upset that there is no like strong female character. You know, they are upset about this being a Super Mario movie because this is eclipsing in relevancy all the stuff that they would rather you watch. You know, this is eclipsing the political propaganda. This is eclipsing like their garbage. This is something that they don't have any control over, and so they are desperate through any means necessary to downplay and ignore this movie. And that's very apparent if you read the reviews and see what these people are saying, because none of them feel like valid criticisms at all. You know, you look at like someone on Twitter saying the movie was bad, and you're just like, well, you went to go see it day one, and you have a Sonic profile picture. Like, you're not someone that I would ever take seriously. You know, the sheer amount of people I've seen already try and come out and say that, like, Sonic is better. Like, you know, that just makes me want to see the movie more. You know, it just makes me think that like these guys are just coping, and that they don't know what they're talking about, and that they don't know anything about the characters or about the setting. So as a result of that, like, why exactly would I take your opinion seriously? You know, if you're going into a Super Mario Bros. Movie, not knowing anything about Mario, not knowing anything about the characters, like, why exactly would you ever go see this? And this is the fundamental problem with critics. You know, if you're not familiar with the source material, why exactly are you judging a film based on those characters that, like, oh no, they don't do a lot to let us get to know the characters. Like, bitch, everyone already knows the characters. You know, you see them bitching about the pacing, like, oh man, it's too fast paced. Things are happening all the time. Based, like, every other movie I have seen recently is way too fucking slow paced. Okay, things actually happen in this movie. You know, people like view these kind of things as a criticism when in actuality they are one of the best things about it. You know, going back and watching the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I kind of realized that, like, yeah, this is better than Coco. This is better than like the modern Disney Pixar slop. You know, this is better than Puss in Boots 2. You know, like, and the reality is, the reason why people don't want to acknowledge it is because, it's not talking about deep themes. Like, oh, Mario isn't thinking about his mortality and his relationship with Peach, and, like, it's just a fun adventure movie. Yes! That's what makes it better than everything else that's coming out. Okay, this is just the reality of, like, modern film and, like Hollywood in general, is that they are more interested in pushing the message than in actually making a fun, entertaining product that people want to enjoy. And I feel like these movies, the Nintendo films, are the best counterexample to that. Like, what happens when someone comes out and actually decides that, yeah, we're gonna make a movie that people actually want to watch. Okay? This is the huge problem with the modern cinema industry. Like, modern cinema is that they don't want to make films that people actually want to watch. You know, they want to make deep, introspective material that makes people, like, change the way they see the world and, like, you know, indoctrinate them into, like, the woke ideology. You know, that's what they want. But the simple fact of the matter is, and they're learning this the hard way, is that people are, like, learning to reject this propaganda and are instead going to movies like this. Movies that are intelligent, that are more intelligent than that, because they understand what people actually want to see. You know, like, again, this is the problem, is that these guys are just so intent on being taken seriously that they're not even doing their job properly. You know, they're not even getting people to watch the film to begin with. And I would argue this is, like, the core reason why Hollywood has been falling apart, and the core reason why, like, none of these people, like, know what they're doing, is because they're so invested in, like, creating something with a message, something that's supposed to mean something instead of actually making like good material that like people actually want to watch. And that's why it's all falling apart. It's why they're getting outdone by movies like this. You know, a movie from a company that should never have entered Hollywood, working with another animation studio that like nobody was respecting or taking seriously. You know, this is the end result of that. Is that we're seeing these movies pull in $1 billion, and the entire entertainment industry is seething because they know that their time is up. You know, video games is bigger than they are, and have been for a long time, and yet like they've been delusional about denying this for years now. You know, they don't want to admit that, like, you know, even like relatively niche games like Final Fantasy VII are like bigger than they are, and meanwhile like Mario's like probably only second to Pokemon right now. You know, like you're really gonna try and argue that like Nintendo is some company that like doesn't deserve the status, doesn't deserve the prestige, doesn't deserve the attention, that doesn't deserve this popularity when like, you know, everyone who goes to see this movie, you know, everyone who wants to see it really enjoys it. You know, and that's like that's the problem here. You know, if the people who want to see the movie are enjoying it, like what exactly does the critic offer? You know, what exactly does the critic like, you know, deliver that like matters in any way, shape, or form? Like, what do they do? Like, their entire purpose is to try and manipulate people into accepting insane Hollywood worldviews. Okay, their job is to rationalize it and sell it to the public and get people to like accept like fringe Hollywood beliefs. And what's becoming more and more apparent is that nobody cares what they have to say about anything. You know, none of these guys are relevant. Nobody knows who they are, and like, you know, the more they go on about like how disappointing of a movie this is, the more they kind of expose themselves as just not knowing what they're talking about. You know, it is downright embarrassing how desperate they are to try to downplay this film, because this is something that is going to surpass, I think, all the Disney films this year. It very well may be the highest grossing movie this year, period. You know, if it surpasses the original Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I think it will, it'll go down as like one of the most successful movies of all time. And if that's true, we're going to see the momentum grow with each subsequent release, and we are going to see eventually them surpass like James Cameron's Avatar as the most successful film of all time. Like, it is going to happen at some point, and it's going to be glorious. But like, again, the industry is not going to be happy about that. Like, again, these are the most AstroTurf movies ever. They're so desperate to downplay and ignore Nintendo. It needs to be said that these people are completely delusional.